Hi, this is an interview with Becca Steinbach. She is a shaman and an opal quantum healer, level 2. She's highly advanced with the higher frequency energies as well as the shamanic work, getting ready to go to Peru again to study shamanism and do some tours, correct?
Correct. Yes.
She's also the owner of Inner Nature Sanctuary in Baltimore. It's in Baltimore, correct?
About 45 minutes out.
I would love for you to just introduce yourself and tell us as much as you're comfortable with all the work you're doing.
Sure. Well, my name is Becca, and I'm a shamanic practitioner. We call ourselves Pacos, which means initiate of the shamanic path, particularly in the Andean mountain traditions, and opal quantum healer. I'm trained in Reiki and some other modalities as well, but those two are my main pillars here. And my husband and I own Inner Nature, which is about 45 minutes outside of Baltimore. And we have a wonderful little piece of land. We work with the land extensively. We have a lot of events that bring people together and help people on their path of devotion. And so it's a healing arts center. We see one-on-one clients, and we also create a space where we can do that together. Yeah.
Amazing. And so your husband is a healer as well?
He is, though he is more focused in body work when he does his sessions.
Okay.
And yeah, so he's still exploring, but body work is very potent with him, and a lot of energy moves through, and he can pinpoint where the kink is and how to move it out and some of the energy that's behind that.
Amazing. And so what are some of your offerings at Inner Nature?
So let's see. Shamanically, I work with people I like to start with people for intuitive shamanic healing. It gives a space for me to drop in and feel when I'm working with that person.
Mm-hmm.
And so these intuitive shamanic healings, spirit-led, spirit-guided, we shake up a lot of energy. It works primarily, we're working with the field, and everything in the field happens first before it becomes an illness in the body.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a lot of in-person clearing the field. We might find stuff that's related to past lives, might be stuff that's related to an issue that happened yesterday or something earlier in life. And it's clearing. It's helping to also illuminate and bring more of that person's essence into their body. And as I work with someone, I might take them through guided shamanic journey work, and we might retrieve a power animal to help them walk in more of their power.
Mm-hmm.
Some cord cuttings to help clear some of those really heavy connections that we have and reharmonize them. And then soul retrieval is also something that I recommend for most people. I think all of us can go through plenty of soul retrievals.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah. So the soul retrieval process is really beautiful. And so that's a lot of the bulk of my work here in person. And then I will work with clients remotely through the opal quantum healing. And it definitely has, a shamanic spin, just remote. And Jeffrey, my husband, does body work. And so he'll work with clients, especially to help increase their mobility, to heal the knots that might be in the shoulder. He likes more of that. I'm not very great with the terms on it, but more of that deep tissue work that
Mm-hmm.
helps create a change versus what he calls spa massage, just to get you relaxed and the gentle
Right.
touch.
Right.
So those are the primary things. Sometimes I'll do readings. I'll do private ceremony for folks as well, and then a lot of what I offer here for groups. I do a lot of ceremony, particularly bringing in the spirit of cacao, the plant medicine, which is just chocolate in her purest form, but with
Mm-hmm.
and I love working with that because it keeps people in the body. And, there's a big fad of plant medicine right now, and it's helping a lot of people, but it's also, it can be tough to integrate sometimes.
Well, and it can be misused.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the shamanic healer and the master of ceremonies is really, really important to find a quality individual to guide people through those spaces. Otherwise, I think it can actually mess up the field too. So,
Yes.
and I'm
My
sure you've witnessed that with both aspects of the work. You can
right.
actually read it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes working with people that are heavily involved and haven't necessarily done the clearing or the integration work after working with some of these plant medicines that take you out of your body. It's like holes are blown in the field, and it takes a lot to reweave that back together and clear it. But that's what I do. So here at Inner Nature, we love to have this be a place of integration as well. So we're not that place to go to find all of the plant medicine journeys and things like that. Um, and then recently this year, I've started to roll out Path of the Paco, which is an immersive shamanic class. And so we start to go on that walk and heal ourselves and go deeper into the work. Um, and that's been really beautiful.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, nice little taster for some of the things we have to offer.
Yeah. Very multifaceted. You can get everything there, huh?
Yes.
So, do you mind telling us a little bit about your story of ascension and transformation from just the beginnings to where you are now, and what that looked like, and how you experience to help other people that are on that path now?
Sure. Well, May
It's a very
17th
broad question.
world. Oh goodness. Um, yeah, I don't know exactly a starting point because I'm a very old soul. I think I came in knowing that, and then I went through just forgetting. There were certainly certain agreements and experiences that I signed up for in this life, and I think also that at a higher level, my soul wanted me to just dive into life as it was in this third density American dream kind of life. I was born into parents that live that American dream and hold that into their values. Um, so I kind of just forgot my gifts for most of my childhood, even early um, early adulthood. Big big aspect of myself was to be accepted and to fit in. So I didn't really let myself be who I was, and I was
Yeah.
very shape shifting into someone that I thought would be accepted, and that was a mainstream, as people might say, basic white girl.
Yeah.
And probably in my early 20s, I would joke, but it was serious, that I was having my quarter life crisis.
Mm.
This was so miserable. Um, at that time, I felt really disconnected and really lost, and um, there was nothing particularly wrong with my life. It just felt so heavy and dark. And I would think that the big turning point was when I moved to Baltimore, and that was a big catalyst for me to start to have this awakening. And at
Mm.
first, just being so miserable and not knowing what to do or where to turn. And so eventually, I found a friend that knew how to pray. And I got curious finally. I'm just like, what are you doing? How do you know that you're being heard? All of these, little questions that were starting to open the door. And that became the beginning and it was interesting. I was raised Catholic, so it was almost like a return to some of those roots to start to heal that.
Yeah.
And so Jesus, or Yeshua, became my first known guide in this adult part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually after months and months of calling and praying and asking to hear spirit. I mean, at the time I was using words like God and Jesus. And I remember being in Florida for a long weekend, taking a little break from from teaching. And I was a runner at the time. And I always loved to run with music. And whenever I would run on the beach, I'd say hello to people, good morning, and just carry on. And then towards the end of my run, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I hear, take your headphones out. And it was not my voice. It was something, it was subtle and just calm, but with power and presence. And so I've been praying for months to hear. And the first time I do, I start arguing. Oh, I need my music to run. And it just was consistent. Take your headphones out. Take your headphones out. And finally exasperated, I was like, fine. And so I did. I'm carrying on running. And nothing really changed. Like, okay, what was the point of that? And then all of a sudden, a new person walks by as I'm jogging by them. And I say, good morning. And then they responded. They said, good morning. And it just shocked me. And at that time, it just dropped in of this huge lesson. I had been asking and asking and asking, but I hadn't gotten still or taken out my headphones to hear and to listen. And so that, along with the friend that I was with for that trip, was going through some physical issues, and she just says to me, Becca, I need you to heal me. I said, excuse me, what? And she said, I need you to put your hands on me and heal me. I have this terrible, debilitating headache. And she was struggling with Lyme, so it really would knock her.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what I'm doing. And she was one of my first teachers in this. And she's like, okay, well, just sit down, put your hands on my head and pray and ask for Jesus to come in and do the work. And I was like, okay. and I did. And I could feel just a flow. And then all of a sudden, after a few minutes, she just, thank you, it's gone.
Wow.
So just these first openings. And then the third one of that weekend was meditating for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And really getting into a meditation where I was turning over the word fierce. And so it was all showing me new ways of programming, redefining some of my definitions, taking my headphones out, believing that I could be this channel for this flow of the divine energy. And that's what started it for a lot of my walk. I started being with a Christian group of friends for a while, and then after a bit, there were certain aspects that just felt not quite right for me. I started just floating my way on, and I was a school teacher, but also I was a dog behaviorist. And so it's funny, I've always been a teacher, and I've always talked to people about energy. Even before I really understood what it was about, I was working with people to help their dogs, but it wasn't through they come. It was helping them embody more of a confident energy, helping them to attune to body language with dogs and how to work with that. And we talked about energy, even though I had just a tiny, tiny grasp of what that really meant.
Mm-hmm.
So, eventually my dog Khaleesi had some aggression issues, and the aspects that I was being taught weren't fully working. And it was dawning on me, well, this dog has trauma. So you can't just treat this dog like the protocol of aggression, because there's trauma with this.
Mm-hmm.
So I started looking for alternatives to combine with that. And that's how I stumbled across animal Reiki. And that was pathway. And so working with animal Reiki, that started to open up more of my ability to continue that channeling work. Started to open up to this. I met a friend who was a potent channeler, and he helped answer some questions and some feelings within me of like, well, wait a minute, how can people of, say, the Christian religion say that this is correct and that all other religions are wrong, and aren't they all part of God? And things like that getting answered. And yeah, just started to work with channeling, with pulling in cards and allowing my intuition to grow. And after a series of time working with animal Reiki, helping incorporate that with my clients and playing with my intuition, letting things grow, working on my own beginning points of healing, eventually my guides were starting to say, all right, great. We know you love working with animals, and people need you too.
Yeah.
So that became a big shift. I closed down the business that I was working with and started to make my way towards working with people.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back and went through Reiki training again with people, started to work on my own healing, and it probably was around similar timing that I would have met you and met my teacher in the shamanic path.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I don't remember the exact dates, but at some point I started working with you.
Mm-hmm.
And that helped go deeper into some of the blocks that I carried, the deep pains, things that I was starting to take a look at, but not ready to fully go into.
Yeah.
And I had, I was working with shadows, I was working with going deeper, but it was time to go to the next level. And similar to the shamanic walk, one of my Reiki teachers invited me to come around the fire for a ceremony, and I said, okay, sure. And my teacher and her teacher were there, and so Jose Luis was doing the fire song around the fire, and at that point it was just something came online and waking up in my bones of remembrance. It was like home. I had been here before, and it was a huge call.
Yeah.
And it still took me a while. It probably took another 2.5 years to just
Yeah.
come around the fire, come to ceremony. But it was another couple years before I started to walk the path and take classes with my teacher, the shamanic path. And I think around that time too, we were working with deeper aspects with the field. So in these recent years, I've worked with both of these paths simultaneously. One might get a little more attention for a period of time, and then the other. And so it's been really, really neat witnessing them spiral up together. The path of the Paco, the shamanic walk, takes you on deep dives. You look at your fears. You look at what's killing you off and your family off, and how can we die to that so we can live fully? What do we need to shed? And also becoming people of vision, because we can't just be stuck in all the muck and those things. We got a vision into this world that we're co-creating all together.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been an intense walk. A lot of remembrance of past lives, a lot of remembrance of the essence, a lot of remembrance of gifts, and then step by step learning to embody them and integrate them into a day-to-day life.
How have you witnessed the embodiment process from a personal standpoint? And what's the difference of that versus just elevated consciousness, in your opinion or experience?
I see, when it's just elevated consciousness, I see a lack of rootedness and almost in the energy, and it it can be that all love and light kind of feel from many individuals. But there's an aspect of for me, the way I see it is that there's such a need to ground in the work that's being done. And it's hard to pinpoint exactly how that process happens. It definitely is not a one and done thing. It takes time, and it takes, based on the what I call homework, the suggestions that come in, whether through a session or when one taps into their guidance, to actually start to do the things that are being suggested and bring it into this world. To not just go into a meditation in the morning and then step through the rest of your day and go back into reactions and old ways of being. Noticing when those patterns come up, and then over time being able to catch that, and from that point center oneself and make a shift.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the body has to heal.
Yes. Yeah, I learned that.
The distortions in the body have to heal and be cleared, and then those higher frequencies can come in.
Yes.
Too. And I think a lot of people ignore the body and just kind of go into the higher states, and then there's too much distortion in the body. They can't hold the frequencies, and then they can't live that reality. So, yeah, so we talked a little bit about the Opal Quantum Healing and your personal style, and they're very, I think you utilize them separately. Is that correct? But when you do use Opal Quantum Healing, you're using your shamanic work. And how are you integrating those two? Or are you?
I think it's more of a, again, talking about that embodiment, it almost becomes a part of oneself. And so it's sometimes hard to even bring a full distinction.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Mm-hmm.
Well, one thing is that with that shamanic path, sometimes there's even like a warrior energy, or just being able to really look at the depths of the darkness as well as the heights of the light and everything in between. And being able to hold a grounding frequency for the individual as they look at whatever they need to look at.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely with bringing more of my journey work into these sessions. And so I'll journey on behalf of the individual, and often that is in the way that I journey. And
Well, I think the journey work comes in handy because through the whole process, you're actually kind of in a trance state. And so the whole session could be a journey, And so your experience with the shamanic work and moving into and out of those realms, I'm sure comes in handy there when you're doing that, I would imagine.
Yes. Yeah.
So just an added depth to the work.
Definitely.
Because you're working multidimensionally,
Yeah. Yeah. And I've noticed too that I moved away from offering just Reiki sessions in person, because over time I just chuckle at myself, because it was never just Reiki for me.
Yeah.
It was always a flavor of the quantum work.
Yes.
And it was always a flavor of the shamanic work. So I've started to put out a gentle energy alignment, because that's the one thing that I do enjoy of the quality of Reiki, is that the work is done in a very subtle times. But that's been cool for the in-person sessions. I'll utilize the sound frequencies that will be often used in the Opal Quantum Healing. Often it's shamanic, and I'm just clearing things on the field, and there's a harmonization and a dancing of those different.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Very cool. So do you have a perspective on the shift, the 5D shift, the ascension that we're currently going through? How do you perceive that, and what are your expectations and advice for people regarding that?
Well, I get this sense that it's not just going to happen for every individual. We each have to choose to shift, have to choose to engage in the work that's required. I remember an analogy a long time ago that was shared with me was the backpack. And if you imagine all of the old stories or the old programming or the things that keep us heavy or stuck, we're just wearing a backpack with all of that, and they're little bricks, and we have to make it through this shift. We have to open that backpack and one by one take out these bricks.
Yes.
And then let go of the backpack.
Yes.
And so that is such an important aspect. Yes, when these shifts, we're awakening and gifts are going to come online and such, we also need to purify, or we'll distort the gifts.
Exactly.
We're receiving. So, yes, of course, the earth herself, she's going to shift. She already has. But I do sense that there's parallel realities, there's parallel timelines, there's parallel aspects. So we have that choice of how we're going to shift and if we are going to shift. And so, as far as advice, awaken and purify. Allow the awakening, have fun with it. That's one of the big joyful aspects in the beginning. And then we will have to face our own darkness. We will have to go through perhaps dark nights of the souls, or just look in at the things that have created all of the static or the noise or the heaviness in our field. And we need to purify that. And we have legions of invisible help, legions of light beings that are with us and able to work with that. It's not just each of us doing that on our own. We got to align with the divine.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything that you have shared with the inversion, I totally resonate with. So there's also that of just discernment is key, because there's kind of two poles going in which way, and it can get a little confusing. So staying in each person's lane, you got to stay in our lanes.
Well, I was going to ask you why you felt that clearing and elevation was important. Of course, I had an idea in my mind of what that looked like, and then you went into the inversion, because there's the negative pole and there's the positive pole, and I feel like this point in time is an opening for people to move through that. It's like a cosmic opening, and it loops around every couple thousand years. And so we're in that opening now for people to move through. And so that's why that's important to drop the backpack with the bricks, so that you can evolve into that higher space. Yeah.
Yeah, for months now. It was very, very loud in the fall, but it still feels open. But it just was this strong message of the time is now.
Yeah.
Time is now. The time is now.
Yes.
And so we each get to choose.
Yep. Exactly. Beautiful. So let's talk a little bit about your perception on the densities and how you've experienced that.
Yeah, I've had a unique journey with the densities and growing through them. It's funny, almost paradoxical. I've always been a pretty grounded individual, and certainly with the shamanic work helps me stay very rooted. But perhaps being such a grounded person, it also could have leaned towards a tendency of holding on to things in my body. What I've noticed and what we discovered is, as my energy and my spirit body, very, very elevated, very high frequency. And my body was not coping with that and being able to harmonize. And so my body was actually still staying very rooted in this third density. And the rest of my energy was at higher levels, various higher levels. And so there was a lot of dissonance happening. So it was a unique journey because there were aspects that I have discovered about fifth density or higher and being like, well, wait a minute, why am I not fully experiencing that? Why does it seem like glimpses of that happening? And that started to put two and two together. So it makes a lot of sense. Over the years, the focus became very, very spiritual, which was a good thing because I was so physically oriented without spirit for most of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of just flip-flopped. And it took a while to really see that. I used to be a very strong athlete and letting all of that go. And to the point where moving my body was not easeful anymore. So as I started doing another round of deep work with the quantum healing, it was seeing, we're seeing this huge dissonance and needing to tend more to the body. So something that I've noticed with these densities is, we're still in our bodies. That's the point of it.
Yes.
Bringing these higher levels of light or higher frequencies into the cells, into the DNA, into our organs, bones, blood that makes up our body. And so we can't just forget our bodies.
Yes.
We got to tend to them. And without that piece, then the energy can't fully flow. There's not a fully balanced state. And so the aspects of fifth density they're not really accessible.
Yeah.
The alignments, the bigger synchronicities, things coming together in a only divinely orchestrated way, the things that we can't really control even if we wanted to. So making that shift and putting my body and my energy first and taking good care of that and moving has just opened a lot of doors for those frequencies to anchor in, and then even higher of the densities. And what I've noticed is that there's just it's almost like a simpler way of looking at the world, at my own world, at life. I'm noticing less reaction. I'm noticing, sure, there's still an ego, there's still processes to move through, but it's more easeful. I don't get stuck in the mud all the time.
Yeah.
There's synchronicities that just flow in. It's clearer. It's clearer what the next step is. It's more comfortable to be with the unknown because accepting that I don't need to have awakening is not necessarily knowing all the things that are going to happen in life and having that mapped out. So it's much subtler than I expected, for me at least. It's a very subtle experience because I'm still very much in the world as I'm meant to be.
Yeah. It is a subtle shift. That's really interesting. And the difference, but there is a pretty huge difference when you're harmonized. All the bodies are harmonized and the physical reality can feel the spiritual presence.
Yeah, there's resistance for sure. And at times too, it just would be a sensation before shifting the body of calling, doing the work, trusting that it's happening, yet not having the full physical awareness. I don't know if there's a better way to describe it.
Like a sensation in the body. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the body shifts too.
Mm-hmm.
And elevates in a sense as well. So, yeah. And so, yeah, I guess my advice with the body is feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Tuning into feeling sensations of the body. That way you can connect to those higher frequencies easier. Yeah. And do you have any guidance or advice for people on the ascension path right now?
Well, discernment. There's tons of people out there right now claiming to be shamans, claiming to be this and that. And those are big words to live into. You'll never hear me call myself a shaman, for instance. It's a big word. And so the people that you choose to work with, be discerning. How integrated are they on their path? And then as one awakens and chooses these paths, what is calling? There's so much out there. And there's many paths to awakening, to ascension, to transformation. And find that path and commit to it. Go deeper. And through that, purify what you need to purify, continue walking, continue opening, continue playing with the gifts, because it can be playful and fun. Dedication and devotion. Whichever path one chooses, or if there's kind of a blending of a few paths, I think we're in a time of big cross-pollination. But as we do that, can we hold reverence for the paths we're choosing? And that's through our devotion, that's through our embodiment, that's through these coming home.
That's beautiful. I think commitment and devotion are key. It's choosing that path and allowing yourself to be led by your higher self, by that harmonic and alignment, and honoring all of the paths and people and teachers and things that come along through the journey. Because it is, I mean, a lot of people, it's a windy road, but there's a thread there that is direct alignment. And as long as you're in alignment with that thread and trusting and honoring all the other processes,
Yes,
you'll get to where you need to go.
exactly.
Beautiful. And do you have, lastly, any words of wisdom? We pretty much just went through that, but is there anything else you'd like to add to help anyone right now? And
I don't know if I do. There's nothing permanent in this moment. I feel like it came through with the advice.
yes, I do. I think that was a very thorough journey you took us on, which is what it felt like. So thank you. We went through your journey. It was beautiful. Well, thanks so much, Becca. And it was wonderful talking to you today. And I will have your information linked below as well. Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
See you soon.